For so long, we've been taught to view relationships as the ultimate destination, a measure of our worth and happiness. The prevailing narrative is that when a connection ends, it is a personal failing, a sign of something broken within us. We see it as a loss, a painful and undeniable absence that leaves us feeling diminished and adrift in the world. We chase the echoes of what was, desperately trying to understand what went wrong, believing that the path to wholeness lies in retrieving what we have lost or finding a replacement for it. This external validation, this need for another to complete us, has been ingrained in our collective psyche, making the end of a bond feel like a profound and absolute defeat. It's a common and deeply painful experience, one that makes us question our very foundation, convincing us that we are less without someone else by our side. But what if this common belief is a profound misconception? What if that painful separation is not a punishment, but a profound and necessary act of grace? Imagine for a moment that the universe, in its infinite wisdom, isn't taking something away from you, but is actively moving you towards something far more essential. What if the very act of being distanced from someone is a carefully orchestrated intervention designed not to hurt you, but to protect a deeper, truer part of yourself? This new perspective suggests that what we perceive as a brutal ending might actually be a crucial new beginning, a profound realignment with our own destiny. It challenges the very notion of what a goodbye truly means and opens the door to a richer, more empowering understanding of our own journey. This isn't about romanticizing pain or denying the sorrow of separation. Instead, it's about a radical shift in perspective that reframes the entire experience. It asks us to look beyond the immediate feeling of rejection and to consider a higher, more compassionate purpose. This isn't the story of a relationship that failed. It is the unfolding of a soul's journey, a sacred and solitary path that sometimes requires us to be alone to truly hear its whispers. This new truth can feel unsettling and even frightening at first, but it holds the key to a liberation we never thought possible. It's a journey from external dependency to internal sovereignty, a difficult but ultimately transcendent path that leads us back to ourselves. The journey inward is a solitary one, and the universe often acts as a guardian, gently pushing us away from what is not meant for our deepest growth. This is not a cruel act of severing ties, but a delicate, almost surgical process of creating the necessary space for our own evolution. Think of it as the universe crafting a sacred cocoon around you, a temporary isolation that appears to be a prison, but is in reality a womb for your transformation. Within this protective enclosure, you are shielded from external influences that could hinder your unfolding. The relationships that dissolve are not failures, but simply structures that have served their purpose in your life's grand architecture. They have brought you to a certain point, and now the next phase of your development requires their removal to allow for a new foundation to be laid, one built entirely on your own terms. This brings us to a concept deeply explored by Carl Jung, the process of individuation. Jung would argue that this universal act of distancing is essential for the soul to embark on its most vital journey, the integration of the self. According to Jung, individuation is the process by which we become a whole, indivisible human being, distinct from the collective and deeply connected to our inner truth. It requires us to withdraw our projections from others and to reclaim the aspects of our own psyche that we have unconsciously placed onto them. When a bond breaks, especially one we held dear, it forces us to face ourselves, to confront our own internal landscape without the comforting presence of another. This is the moment when the real work begins, the work of becoming our own temple, a sanctuary where our true self can finally reside in peace. The paradox of this experience is that what appears to be an absence is actually a profound presence. We mourn the person who is no longer there, but in their place we are given the opportunity to meet ourselves for the first time. The void we feel is not empty. It is a space filled with our own potential, our hidden strengths, and our dormant wisdom. The light we once sought in another's eyes is already within us, waiting to be rediscovered. The universe is not taking away a source of light, but rather dimming an external one so that we can learn to ignite our own. The pain is a signpost, a profound and undeniable signal that we are being called inward, not to disappear, but to emerge anew, stronger and more radiant than before. Embracing this new truth is far from easy. The initial phase is often defined by a profound and jarring sense of displacement. We are adrift in a world that no longer feels familiar, no longer anchored by the bonds we once relied on. Society's conventional wisdom tells us to seek comfort in others, to fill the void, and to avoid the solitude that this universal distancing has created. This social pressure, combined with our own inner turmoil, can lead to feelings of intense loneliness, doubt, and a sense of not belonging. We may find ourselves questioning if we are doing something wrong, if we are somehow failing to connect in a way that others seem to manage so effortlessly. The path can feel isolating, as if we are the only one on this difficult and misunderstood journey. During this period, we are forced to confront our deepest fears and insecurities, a process Jung referred to as the meeting with the shadow. The shadow represents the unconscious hidden parts of our personality, the rejected, unacknowledged aspects of ourselves. When we are alone, these repressed emotions and traits which we may have projected onto the person who is now gone come to the forefront. It can be a terrifying and uncomfortable encounter, as we are confronted with the very parts of ourselves we have tried to deny or suppress. The emotional turmoil of a separation is often less about the other person and more about the internal chaos this encounter with our shadow creates. It is a necessary but painful process of integration, where we must face and accept the whole of ourselves, not just the parts we find acceptable. The anguish and the struggle are real, and it is crucial to validate these feelings. The gnawing doubt, the moments of despair, the feeling of being unmoored. These are not signs of weakness, but are inherent parts of the transformative process. You are not broken or fundamentally flawed. You are in the midst of a profound psychological and spiritual metamorphosis. The discomfort you feel is the old skin being shed, the old self resisting its inevitable dissolution. This is a sign that you are on the right path, that the universe's protective act is working exactly as it should. The key is to lean into the discomfort, to understand that it is a temporary but necessary stage on the way to a more integrated and authentic existence. Over time, as we navigate the loneliness and confront our inner landscape, a profound shift begins to take place. The initial feelings of loss give way to a quiet, burgeoning sense of liberation. The space once occupied by another is now a fertile ground for self-discovery and growth. We begin to understand that the protection offered by the universe wasn't about being shielded from harm, but about being sheltered so that we could become an unshakable source of strength for ourselves. This is the moment of genuine empowerment, when we realize that our worth is not derived from external relationships or validation, but from the deep, unwavering connection we have forged with our own soul. We are no longer defined by who we were with, but by who we are in our own right. This transformation results in a state of deep self-sufficiency. We learn to find our own light, to generate our own warmth, and to become the architect of our own joy. The need for external validation begins to dissolve, replaced by a quiet confidence that comes from within. The world no longer feels like a place to be navigated with a partner, but an adventure to be explored with a fully realized sense of self. We learn that we are capable of facing any challenge, of enduring any storm, because our foundation is now built on the solid ground of our own being, not on the shifting sands of another's presence. This newfound autonomy is not a solitary confinement. It is a profound and liberating freedom. The culmination of this process is a powerful and almost mythical transformation. She becomes whole, and in her wholeness, she becomes her own sanctuary, her own protector, her own complete universe. She doesn't need another to feel complete because she has done the vital, courageous work of becoming whole on her own. The message here is not one of loneliness, but of formidable strength. She is now integrated, grounded, and fully present in herself. And in her wholeness, she is not just strong, she is dangerous. Not in a harmful sense, but in the sense that she is unburdened by need and therefore cannot be swayed by external pressure or manipulation. She is a force of nature, guided by her own inner compass, and that is a truly beautiful and formidable thing to witness. We must understand that this protection is not about avoiding all pain, but about preserving the integrity of our soul. Sometimes, the universe distances us from someone because the path they are on is fundamentally incompatible with the one we are destined to walk. It's not about judging their journey, but about honoring our own. This protective separation prevents our own light from being dimmed, our own purpose from being compromised, or our own energy from being depleted by a connection that is not in alignment with our highest good. It is an act of deep reverence for the sacredness of our individual journey, a gentle but firm refusal to allow us to stray too far from our true north. Think of it as a divine recalibration, a correction, of course, that may feel disorienting in the moment, but is absolutely necessary for our long-term spiritual health. We are often blind to the subtle ways a relationship may be holding us back, even if it feels good on the surface. We may be sacrificing parts of ourselves to maintain harmony, or we may be unknowingly settling for a version of life that is far smaller than the one we are meant to live. This universal intervention forces us to stop, to look inward, and to reevaluate our direction. It is a profound act of love, a testament to the fact that the universe sees our potential and will do what is necessary to ensure we reach it, even if that means breaking bonds we believed were unbreakable. This protective distancing also gives us the vital space to process unresolved traumas and patterns. Often, the end of a significant relationship brings to the surface old wounds that we were using the relationship to avoid. The absence of the other person forces us to finally face these parts of ourselves, to heal them and integrate them into our being. This is a crucial aspect of Jung's theory of individuation. We cannot become whole until we have faced and made peace with our past. The universe is not punishing us. It is creating the perfect and necessary conditions for us to finally do the deep, transformative work we have been avoiding. It is a final, compassionate push toward our own healing. As we go through this process, a new inner dialogue begins to emerge. The self-critical voice that once lamented the loss starts to soften, replaced by a more compassionate and understanding whisper. We begin to see our pain not as a flaw, but as a sign of our humanity and our courage. We no longer ask, "What is wrong with me?" but rather, "What is this experience trying to teach me?" This shift in our internal conversation is a powerful marker of our transformation. It is proof that we are moving from a place of victimhood to a position of profound self-awareness and agency. We are no longer defined by what happened to us, but by how we chose to respond to it. The challenges we faced, the isolation, the doubt, the sense of not belonging, are now understood not as obstacles, but as rites of passage. They were the very tests required to prove our own resilience. Every moment of loneliness was a step toward self-reliance. Every wave of sadness was a lesson in self-compassion. The universe never promised an easy road, but it did promise a transformative one. And it's in these moments of reflection that we can truly appreciate the protective hand that guided us. Looking back, we see that the people we were distanced from were not enemies, but rather mirrors that showed us what we needed to see about ourselves before we could move forward. This journey is a testament to the power of our own inner strength. It proves that we have everything we need to be complete, whole, and content, regardless of our external circumstances. This is the ultimate form of spiritual and psychological autonomy. The universe isn't just protecting us from a single person, it's protecting us from the very idea that our happiness depends on someone else. It is a profound act of setting us free, allowing us to build a life from the inside out, not from the outside in. And in this freedom, we discover a version of ourselves we never knew existed, a person who is whole and, as we've said, truly formidable. So, as you reflect on your own journey, on the people who have been gently, or perhaps not so gently, distanced from you, I want you to ask yourself, what is the universe protecting you from? What part of you is being called to awaken? Maybe it's a piece of your shadow that needs to be embraced, or a part of your soul that needs to be reclaimed. The answers are not out there. They are waiting for you, in the quiet spaces that this separation has created. It's in that solitude that your most profound truths will be revealed. Do you recognize any of these feelings in your own life? Have you ever felt the universe pulling you away from a connection you thought was meant to be? If so, I'd love for you to share your story in the comments below. Let's create a space where we can talk about these difficult but necessary truths. Your experience could be exactly what someone else needs to hear to understand their own journey. And if this video has brought a new perspective to your own story, consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear this message. Together, we can reframe our understanding of loss and find empowerment in every ending. Remember, you are not alone in this. The feeling of being distanced, of being in this cocoon of transformation, is a universal experience. You are not being abandoned. You are being prepared. This isn't a sign that you are broken or unwanted. It is a sign that you are on the cusp of something extraordinary. You are not alone. You are waking up. And in that waking, you are discovering a strength and a wisdom that will light your way forward, no matter where your path leads. Thank you for watching, for listening, and for having the courage to look at your own journey from a new perspective.